Back we know at 9:26, and we're continuing our conversation about medical marijuana with Senators Irvin Yen and Anastasia Pittman. And as you can imagine, as I said before, a lot of people chimed in, so let's get straight to the viewer questions here. The first one I want to read, this is to Senator Pittman. This is from Ted Schwartz. He says, is this legalization of medical marijuana simply a step to getting it 100% legalized for recreational as well as medical? If so, then the medical profession is being used as a stepping stone for a completely different agenda. What do you say to Ted there?
Well, I say thank you, Ted, for the question, because I have a lot of constituents with the same concern. But I want Ted to know it can't be called medical marijuana if you don't include physicians in the research. And so this is not a stepping stone for recreational use. This is a concerned effort by senators in a bipartisan fashion to say we need some regulations. We need specific guidelines that limit the amount of HTC or doesn't use HTC at all, and CBD and hemp can do that for us with less side effects. And we want our constituents to know that we hear you. And so my answer to Ted is no.
And just so everyone knows, we're going to clarify here, both Yen and Pittman disagree with where 788 stands now, so they both have bills that would limit its use. This next one, this is from Chris McLean. He writes this: the stigma against marijuana as a recreational drug is clearly hurting its potential to aid those who would benefit from it medically. How do you assess the dangers on marijuana versus other prescription drugs that get abused every day, yet remain legal as they continue to provide relief to patients? Doctor, I'll give that one to you.
Well, marijuana is a drug. Some people have said, oh, it's just a plant. Well, yes, it's a plant, but it is a drug, and it needs to be regulated just like any other drug. Like we regulate Valium, it needs to be regulated. And it shouldn't be used for just anything. Like there's limits to what you can use Valium for, and people die from Valium. That's why it needs to be regulated. And we've got to build the infrastructure to regulate marijuana if 788 passes. Now, the first question, 788 being a stepping stone, it's not a stepping stone to recreational marijuana, in my humble opinion. It is recreational marijuana, and I'm adamantly opposed to that.
And you think it'll get in the wrong hands?
Correct, based upon the way 788 is written.
Mm-hmm. Let's get to this next one. This is from Patty. She says, and we kind of covered this in the first segment, I will say that, but for people who are just now tuning in, Patty says, ask him if he suffers from chronic pain, seizures, etc. If he says no, then how can he tell us no if he doesn't understand the kind of pain that we live with daily? Mm-hmm. And I guess you could really both answer this, and especially people with PTSD who this would not cover. Mm-hmm. How can you tell those people no?
Because we don't have good data on that it's useful for those conditions. Just because I don't have a specific disease or symptom, that means I don't know anything about it. I did go to medical school and learned about all kinds of diseases.
But even if there's not data, why not let people try it, for themselves and see if it helps their symptoms?
Because it's like any other disease, any other drug. It's got benefits, it's got risks. And if the benefits outweigh the risks, then you use it. But if they don't, you don't. And so far, we don't have enough studies to show that the benefits outweigh the risks for chronic pain.
Did you want to say something?
Yes, yeah, I want to let her know that we understand pain. I personally understand pain, and that's why I want Senate Bill 704 to move forward through the legislative process, because I want to create jobs for farmers and businesses in Oklahoma. But my ultimate goal is to allow the research. We can't keep resting on we don't have enough data. Let's regulate it. Let's put some laws in place that will allow our own schools, Oklahoma State University, Langston University. Those are both agricultural schools that can help us with research, and we can function under the federal guidelines that makes hemp and CBD already legal for us to do the research on.
And I know you've mentioned, this is a revenue-raising bill, so let's talk about money. And this actually came in from one of our viewers, too. This is from Murray Sharp. And Murray says, how much tax revenue could it create? What are we talking here? And would it help fix this budget crisis that we're most definitely in right now?
Absolutely. Great question. Great question. Absolutely. I think we don't have the numbers because we have had such a budget crisis, budget deficit, budget shortfall. But agencies are now getting prepared to take additional cuts. We can prevent that. When you start passing revenue generating bills, then you have an opportunity to put money where it needs to go, whether it's in education, whether it's in healthcare, or whether it's in economic development. And that's the purpose of looking at it, studying it, and allowing elected officials to do the research for our constituents.
Do you agree with that? And do both of your bills, I know 788 would be taxed at 7%. Do your bills differ there at all? And
well,
how much do you
I
think
don't know
that
if my
this
current
could
bill
fill?
differs, but it will differ. It will be much higher because at 7%, the state's not going to make any money. Again, you got to build the infrastructure to regulate it. And at 7%, you can't build the infrastructure.
What does it need to be at then?
Some people say 35%.
Yes.
Some people, does that include you? I mean, what are you saying?
Maybe so, yes. I'd say probably so, to build the infrastructure to regulate it.
So if it were 35%, how many millions of dollars would that generate for us?
I don't know. But again, once you build the infrastructure, hopefully after a few years, then you will start making money off the tax.
Another question here. I thought this was interesting. This is from Lee. Lee Duke says, back in the day, people went to jail for having a small amount. If it becomes legal, would that be wiped off people's records? Or can you not go back retroactively like that?
Well, you're not supposed to be able to go retroactively, but we do have some proposals coming through the legislature that will determine how far back you can go. But I do want to say, back in the day, medical marijuana was not legalized. So if you were caught, that was a crime. Now we're moving forward in layers. We've got to look at this as a broader perspective. And what will happen is people who had possessions, those things will be regulated through the Department of Corrections. But medical marijuana today is different than what it was back then. So it's a lot more potent, a lot stronger, different types, lots of variations. I've seen over 200 printed variations of marijuana, and there's many more. So what are we going to do about it? We need to research it. We need more data, and we need bills that will allow us to do that so we can help move our state forward.
Do you agree? You think it should be wiped or can't go back in time?
Oh, that's a legal question, and I can't answer that. But my guess is it cannot be wiped out for past violations. That's my guess.
But you don't have a stance there of what you think it should be?
Well, I don't think anybody's gone to prison for smoking a joint or having a joint or two. That's what I think. Okay, I could be wrong, and I just want to clarify one thing. Maybe I misstated. You know, there are studies that show marijuana is useful for chronic pain that's unresponsive to other forms of treatment. There are studies that show that. Here's the problem with allowing medical marijuana for chronic pain. A patient can come to Dr. Yin and say, look, doctor, I've tried drugs, A, B, C, D, E, and F. I've tried these non-drugs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's not working. When really all they want is to get high. How is the doctor supposed to figure that out? So that's why I'm very hesitant to put chronic pain as one of the indications for medical marijuana.
And one of my last questions to both of you, you keep saying you don't have the data to show that medical marijuana would help with PTSD. Well, what about the data? If either of your bills were passed to kind of limit its use, where's the data that shows that this wouldn't end up in all the wrong hands and it wouldn't result in, crashes and, it could really hit a downward slope? Where's that data?
We're still looking. One of the things, that's what legislation does for us. It gives us research. It gives us best practices from other states that have already done this. But we got to remove the stigma. We have to go back and understand that it is working. And if it's working in small amounts, why are we continuing to allow the legalization of illegal? We have illegal drugs that are still being sold in our state that are being applied for chronic pain. So let's legalize something that we can research and collect data on, because I have friends like Jimmy Shannon, who has Adberry, Hempberry Farms and Adberry Health. We've got to look at some of these details because people are being healed. People are using it. But why should they have to leave the state to go get what they need and the revenue leaves with it? Let's keep our tax dollars here and let's do the research that we need.
Dr. Yin, any final words from you?
You were talking about data. We are looking at data from other states like Colorado, and I read an article just about 2 weeks ago that talks about some of the bad things that are happening in Colorado, like increased accident rates from people who are stoned and driving.
Sure.
Although some people will go, oh, stoned people, they drive slower, you'll have fewer accidents. That's not right. And then we have children in Colorado that are eating these gummy bears. That's horrible. And we know that marijuana is addictive in adults not frequently, but maybe on the order of 12% of the time. In teenagers, significantly higher, more like 17%. So yeah, there's all kinds of data out there from other states that have already legalized it, and we need to look at it very closely.
Senator Irvin Yen, thank you so much.
Pleasure, Mark.
Anastasia Pittman, nice to have a civilized debate here in studio on KSCO 5, so thank you for your time and both of your perspectives. We do appreciate it. And KSCO 5 News at 9 o'clock continues right after this break.